telling you, my friend, the truth, that what God says has been proven right. Poverty can be eradicated totally, and believe me, it is the will of God. God says, there shall not be poor among you. That's His will.
Hallelujah. 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 Before thee, songs of praises singing, hallelujah ringing,
The Bible is about these weightier matters of it gives us the fundamental basis for our work. Now, Martin Luther is a very interesting character. He is the one that took this teaching concerning calling and assignment and took it very far, used it powerfully to bring about a change in the Christian society. You know what kind of change he has brought about? You need to understand that the change that came through Martin Luther is not ordinary change. Complete transformation of societies. Many countries were transformed because of the Reformation and the Protestant teaching coming in. And one of the things that he made a mark in is his teaching concerning work. He took verses like this, where it talks about calling and assignment. And when he was translating the Bible into the New Testament into German, he was very thorough with Greek. He knew Greek very well. And when he translated the New Testament into German, he took the word calling and translated it into the German word beruf. Beruf means vocation or your trade or particular profession, your work. He directly translated it like that. And then, having translated it like that, he went on an outright attack on the wrong ideas that was prevalent in his days in the church. What was the wrong idea that was prevalent in the church in those days, in the society in general? See, the church had a great influence on society, and the church's ideas spread everywhere, and those ideas resulted in a kind of culture and a kind of society. So the society in those days had a lot of wrong ideas about work. And the wrong idea is this, that when they thought about calling, they were told that only those people that are involved in ministry of some kind, you must either be a priest or somebody assisting the priest, some nun, somebody, you must be in that kind of a job, and you must have forsaken everything and gone into a monastery and all that, given up everything. That is the kind of person that is called. Calling has to do only with such people, religious people and people in ministry. They are called. But what about the rest? What about the man who's a construction man? What about the man who designs the building and constructs the building? What about the bricklayer? What about the other workers, carpenters? What about the other people? They said, those are all low-class, good-for-nothing work. They are not called. Before God, it amounts to nothing. Their work amounts to nothing. Well, we need them, so we use them. But that work does not have any dignity. The only work that carries any dignity is the work, the religious work of a person in the church, doing some religious work like a pastor or priest or whatever. All others, they're not called of God. Because they're called of God, there is no dignity assigned to that work. No dignity to that work. Now, this was a terrible idea. So this, you can imagine what people felt like, out there. People that were not in ministry, They felt like they're useless, They're not called. Unfortunately, God has not called them into ministry. And they have not gone through the rigors of monastic life and all of that. They have not given up anything. So they are not called of God. God's favor is not on them, and they are not a very special people in any way. They're just the crumbs, They're just the ones that are left behind without a calling, just doing something just to make a living, put food on the table, and meet their earthly needs and meet someone else's needs. That's why they work, This is the way the Greeks also thought about, The Greeks really ruined a lot of stuff, in society. They had such an influence, so their bad ideas were very bad for the society. I told you already how they said all spiritual things are good, all material things are evil. It's an idea that came from them. Today, Christians have got a hold of that. Now, you try to shake Christians off of that, they won't agree. Oh, material things bad. The world is bad. I asked a fellow, what do you mean the world is bad? The world is created by God. It's not bad. No, I don't want anything. I don't even want 1 inch of land in this world. They used to say, if you had a house here, you won't have a house in heaven. You don't have a mansion in heaven. Because you're a worldly person. You built a house here, That kind of ideas, that material things are bad. Anything connected to material. A car is bad. A bed is bad. Everything is bad, And I've had a lot of experiences with this kind of teaching, Material things are bad. And it sounds good. If you're not trained in the Bible, biblical thinking, then immediately say, yeah, that's right. That's material. My God, that's material. That must be from the devil, Now you try to tell the Hebrew person that material things are bad, spiritual things are good. He will object. He will say, no. My Bible says in Genesis chapter, he's read Genesis chapter 1. He says, God created the material world. And by the time he got through creating it, 7 times he called it good. Now, even if God calls it good 70 times, some people will not agree. Especially some Christians I know. God called it good again and again. What did he call good? He didn't say prayer is good, fasting is good. Go join some monastery, it's good. Give up everything, it's good. He didn't say, if you don't, build a house, if you don't own anything in this world, that's good. These people say it. God made everything. He said He pointed man to all the fruit-bearing trees, thousands of kinds of fruits, on those trees. He says, all this I have made for food for you. He made everything for man. And He called it good. So no Jew will accept your idea that material things are bad. He knows that material things are good, created by God. It's good. Hello? You watch what people will say to this now. They've totally ruined it for many centuries. Now many people have caught on to the Greek idea that material things are bad, spiritual things are good. In the same way, about work, the Greeks have made class distinction. That is, they said manual labor is low class. It's bad. Nobody should desire to be there. Manual labor, we need manual labor, but it's low class. It's bad. Because you work with your hands. A carpenter works with his hands. A masonry worker works with his hands. Construction worker works with his hands. So that is low class work. He belongs to the lower class in society. The one who works with his mind, the intellectual work, the philosopher, the guy who sits on the table, on the chair, behind a table and comfortably sits and thinks through things and analyzes things and works like that. That guy is the privileged guy. He's the higher class. That idea is prevalent even today. It's prevalent even today. But you go into countries that are based on Protestant teaching, you'll find it totally different. That is one thing that shocked me when I went to study abroad. It shocked me to see that a guy who did the work that I thought in my society was low-class work, was quite comfortable, living quite comfortably. I found a guy who is a bricklayer, and you go to his house, he's living in a 5-acre, 5-bedroom house. And his pickup truck is like a beat-down, dirty pickup truck, and he's dirty from head to toe. You wouldn't want to even go near him. But when he comes home and takes a shower and puts on different clothes and gets ready to go and eat, he's got a separate car standing there. Nice luxury car. He gets into it, and his wife has a nice car, and they drive and go and eat in the best restaurants and come back. He lives just like anybody else, any engineer or any highly educated person with a PhD or master's degree lives, This was shocking to me. They'll say, I'm a plumber. What a lot of money they make, They'll say, I'm an electrician, I'm a mechanic, If you're a mechanic, you get $35, $40 an hour, That's a mechanic. Just imagine the kind of money he's making, He's just a mechanic. We think he's just a mechanic, but just a mechanic, Protestant teaching has brought what is called dignity of labor. The very idea of dignity of labor came because of teachings like this, where Martin Luther taught it's a call of God. Man is assigned by God. And through his work, you cannot say it's a low-class work. Try living without a plumber, Hello? Try living without a carpenter. Try living without an electrician, So, these people that think that's low-class work must rethink again, That's a wrong kind of thinking, I was stunned to see some of these people that I considered that job is not considered anything in my society. But these people were living quite well, and they do not hide, saying, they don't feel shy about saying who they are, Say, hey, I'm a plumber. You ask a guy who cleans houses, he'll say, I clean. He's not ashamed of it, cleaning houses. He's making pretty good money. He says, I clean, I do construction work. I do road construction, things like that. They get very well paid there, So, because in that society, in these Protestant countries which are very prosperous, there is no distinction like the Greeks created. That if you work with your hands, you are a cursed low class, and if you work with your brain, you are a blessed high class, That distinction is not there. They've totally gotten rid of it. Every work has dignity. Whatever you do carries dignity. You don't have to be ashamed of it. You can go to work and proudly, you should be proud that you have a work. The point is you're working. Only where you don't have dignity is when you're not working, Work is dignity. No matter what kind of work you have dignity. That kind of thinking has come into these countries that have been raised on Protestant teaching, and they become very wealthy. One of the things there, see in Deuteronomy 15:4, I preached on it. We read that saying, God saying, if you follow what I teach you, literally that's what he says in short, there shall be no poor among you. Have you ever read that? I love those words, There shall be no poor among you. Now, you see some Christians in our country sometimes, they'll say, how is that possible, brother? I say, how many countries there are no poor? Hello? You try to go to some of these countries that have been raised in Protestant preachings, and you try to find a poor. You go street after street after street, you probably won't find any poor. Very difficult to find. There shall be no poor among you is not a myth. It is a truth that has proven to be true all over the world, not just one or two countries, in many countries that follow the teaching. God says, if you do what I say to you, if you follow my principles and establish your society along these lines. Now you read chapter 15 of Deuteronomy and the related chapters, God is talking about economic policies, literally, how to lend money, how to recover what you lent, and how to forgive debts, and all those things. In that connection only says, God says, you do the way I tell you. There shall not be poor among you. And I tell you, there are countries where you will go. Now, if you said that a person has not eaten his dinner today because he doesn't have any money, that is like taking them to the moon and showing them. They are astonished at that, You mean the person didn't eat dinner because they didn't have money? It's startling to them. They cannot imagine anything like that. That a person has not eaten his dinner because he did not have any money. We consider it very ordinary thing. A lot of people don't eat 3 meals a day. So we say, well, it's something very ordinary. But these societies have never heard of poor like that. They have never heard of a poor who does not have shoes to wear. They have never heard of a poor person that does not have clothes to wear. Never heard of a poor that cannot sleep in a comfortable bed. Never heard. I am telling you, my friend, the truth, that what God says has been proven right. Poverty can be eradicated totally, and believe me, it is the will of God. God says, there shall not be poor among you. That's His will. There shall be no doubt. But again, our Chennai friends will disagree with me. Like one fellow was preaching the virtues of poverty. What all poverty will do for you. It will make you more spiritual, take you to heaven. It will make you more careful, holy. 7 points. The blessing of poverty. None of those points are in the Bible. God has not got a double mind. He's not schizophrenic. He's very clear. He says, there shall not be any poor among you. That's my will. Take it or leave it, That's God's will. That's the kind of society and the culture that God wants to create, even today. Now, so Luther got a hold of these things and began to teach these things and made a big change, He said to the people, look, this idea about only the priests and people in ministry are called is wrong. Because we are all priests. He referred to 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9, remember? You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, called to show forth the praises of him who called you out of darkness into marvelous light. In that it says that you are a priesthood, royal priesthood. You are a royal priesthood. And he also referred to Revelation chapter 1 verse 5, I think in English, where it says that he washed us with his blood and has made us kings and priests. I preached on how we are made kings, you know. One fellow said, oh, what kind of preaching is this? We are kings? Doesn't look like everybody is a king. Particularly himself, he's saying, I don't look like a king. I said, you won't look like a king until you think like a king. Until you believe that you are a king in and through Jesus Christ, you know. According to the Bible, everybody is a king. We have been all made kings and priests. You are a king. That's the Bible, my friend. Read Revelation 1:5. You are a king. Before God, God looks at you as a king. Now, I know some Christians say, I'm nothing but dust and worm and no good rotten, you know, whatever, you know. But God says, I see you only one way, as king. I did not let my son die on the cross and shed his blood to make a worthless worm and dust. I let my son die so that he can take people that are sinners and down and out and raise them up as kings and priests. That's what that verse is saying, literally. So Martin Luther got a hold of this. He said, everybody is a priest. Today in the New Testament, the new covenant is a better covenant with better promises, better status given to every believer. It's not in the Old Testament, only few people were priests. Only one particular tribe was a priestly tribe. Only they could become priests, and they had special clothing and this and that and so on. They were called by God to preach. But this is New Testament, where every single person is a priest. This is a better covenant with better promises, with better status for every person. We are all priests. And this shook the whole church, you know. Just imagine. In the situation where they have taught people that priests are the special ones called by God. This man came saying, everybody is a priest, I'll show you, the Bible tells you. And he went to the New Testament, through the New Testament, showed them. He also argued that every Christian is equally called to their work. That is, as far as the calling is concerned, everybody's got calling. It's not that some are called, some are not called. That's a wrong idea, he said. Everyone is called. We are equal in calling. We are all called. There is no one that is not called. We are all called, he says. Now, it's very interesting how he brings that into his preaching. Some examples of it is available. Go to Psalm 147 and verse 13. He's preaching on Psalm 147, verse 13. He's a very interesting preacher, Martin Luther, fiery preacher. Verse 13 says, for he has strengthened the bars of your gates. He has blessed your children within you. What is he talking about? Which gates? Talking about Jerusalem, the people of God. Verse 12 says that, praise the Lord, O Jerusalem, praise your God, O Zion, for he has strengthened the bars of your gates. He has blessed your children within you. So what he's saying is, after he reads this, he gives an exposition on that. And he says, look, God strengthens the bars of your gates. How does he strengthen the bars of your gate? Does it mean that God is going to put a compound wall, build a wall and put a gate there and make sure that it's locked and put a watchman there or something? No, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about how he provides safety and security for his people, for his city. God strengthens the gates. How does he strengthen? Not just by a physical gate that is placed there, but to strengthen the gate, he strengthens the whole system. Look how he thinks. He establishes rulers in the city. He establishes laws, the government and ordinances, good order and wise rulers. With all of them functioning in their calling and in their assignment, that is how safety and security happens. Safety and security happens as a result of everyone participating according to their calling and assignment and doing their part of it. The whole city with all its officials and all the workers doing their part in it. That is how safety and security happens, he says. That's the way it should be understood, he says.
Just clap our hands. Jesus is alive. I know He's rescued my soul. His blood has covered my sin. I believe. I believe. My shame is taken away. My pain is healed in His name. I believe. I believe. I'll raise the banner. Oh, my Lord has conquered the grave. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer lives. Everybody in the hands. With all your strength. I know He's rescued my soul. His blood has covered my sin. I believe. I believe. My shame is taken away. Yes, He died for you. My pain is healed in His name. I believe. I believe. I'll raise a banner. Oh, my Lord has conquered the grave. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer. My Redeemer. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer lives. My Redeemer. My Redeemer lives. You lift my burden. I'll rise with you. I'm dancing on this mountain top to see your kingdom come.